Welcome to Grand Canyon University's Canyon Professional Development. We are excited today to bring you information about the power of storytelling and the power of building and nurturing partnerships to assist you in everything that you would like to do for your school. My name is Carol Lippert, and I am an assistant vice president here at Grand Canyon University. Have about 30 years in public education as a teacher, an assistant principal, a principal, and an associate superintendent. I now have the pleasure of working for Grand Canyon University in our K-12 outreach and support area. And here today as my partner in crime is Dr. Jennifer Johnson. Jennifer, you want to introduce yourself?
Welcome. Yes, I'm Dr. Jennifer Johnson. I currently serve as the Public District Liaison for Grand Canyon University. I serve on the same team as Carol does. I also have had over 3 decades in public education, having started as a teacher, served as a principal, an assistant superintendent, and a superintendent. So we're very glad that you have joined us and ready to get going. So today we're going to talk about storytelling and partnerships, both of which are vital to your success as a principal, as a leader, and vital to the success of your school. We're going to talk about how to tell your story that captures the attention and engagement of others outside the walls of your school. And we're also going to talk about partnerships and how you can use the story that you have about your school to build and nurture partnerships that ultimately benefit your staff and your students. So let's start with storytelling. Your brand is a story unfolding across all customer touch points. And by customers, we take a very broad approach to that term. Your customers are current parents and family members, obviously your students. Your customers are also your internal staff and colleagues, and your customers are community members, business members, and prospective parents. So almost everyone that you interact with on a daily basis, or maybe just sporadically, are all your customers. And every time you have an interaction with them, you are building your story and building the brand of your school. And your story that you're going to tell, that you do already tell about yourself as a leader, and most importantly about your school, should have 3 parts. One is the hook. Capture the imagination of the audience. Why is it they should care? Why should they care about your students? Why should they care about your school? Think about that for a minute. You know, what is it that you can tell them that would make them want to know more about who you are and what your school is doing? Then you're going to share 3 ideas. Sometimes maybe you might only have time for 1. Maybe you're in a setting where you can have 5 different ideas about your school. But the point is to be clear, concise, and interesting. If you have a limited amount of time, what would you want others to know about your school, about your students, about your staff? And thinking about that ahead of time means that you can really use the time you have in these precious conversations to tell them the most important things you would want them to know about the work that you're doing with your students. And then in closing, your story should have a call to action. What is it you want from or need from others? If you're talking to a business partner, what could they do to help you related to the ideas that you've shared with them? If you're talking to a prospective parent or a current parent or a staff member, what is it that you would like them to do with the information that you've shared? And thinking about all of this in advance really helps make the story compelling and profitable, productive. So think about the story. As I said, it might change for different audiences or purposes. If you're having a conversation with a current business partner, that's going to look different or sound different than a conversation you might be having with a prospective parent. So be thinking about all of the different audiences or purposes that you would have for the story about your school. And remember that you're the expert. No one knows your school better than you do, and no one can tell the story better than you can. Again,
That's a really good point, Jennifer. I really want to emphasize that you know your school. Tell the story and tell it with excitement. Yeah.
you're the one that brings the passion and the love every day to the work that you do. And you need to share that vision, that love, that care with other people so that they can also be inspired. And again, your story might be really short. It might be longer depending on the situation. And so be thinking about all the different ways that you could tell your story. And it should reflect your core values and those of your district. Obviously, we believe that your core values should be aligned with those of your district. That's why you all work together in such a good team. The things that you choose out of all the universe of possibilities, the things that you tell others about your students and about your school community and about your staff really reflect what you value and what comes to mind first. And because you are also in the business of building cheerleaders or advocates or ambassadors, the way you tell your story should be able to be replicated. Others should be able to tell a story, maybe not exactly word for word, but a version of the same story. And so again, it starts with you. You're the leader. No one knows it better than you. And you're going to inspire others to also want to tell the story about what a great school community you have. So now, as you go through this experience, think about who are your audiences in your community. And no two of you will have exactly the same list, but think about who are the people that you interact with? Who are the people you would like to be able to interact with and tell the story to? And what purposes might your story serve? What is it that you want them to know? Is it because you want them to enroll their children in your school? Is it because you want them to become more engaged as parents that are already in your school community? Is it a current business partner that has served your school and you would like to ask something new of them, or you have a different idea for an expanded partnership? Perhaps it's a prospective business partner. Your purposes, and to be clear about your purpose in advance, again, makes your conversation when you have those opportunities much more efficient. So what's the story of your school? Again, the purpose of this video is to help you think in advance about the kinds of conversations that you get to have about your school. I know that you have needs at your school. I know that you have goals and aspirations for your students and for your staff. We also know that you can't do it alone and that you need lots of good partners to surround you as a leader, surround your staff as educators and other leaders, and to surround your students. And so how can we do that in the most effective way possible? And it starts with thinking about what is it you would tell people about your school and how would you get them engaged? So now we'd like to show you a short video clip about Mountain View Elementary School in Phoenix. And you're going to hear from the principal, Jill Serrano, about how she came into Mountain View as their newest principal and what she did to build a community and how she told her story.
I started 3 years ago and walked into this school as the new principal, and we had one partner, and I knew that there was probably more support needed. We have over 1,500 students with 150 staff and students with great needs. So I knew I needed my village behind me, and it wouldn't be something that I could do by myself. I started reaching out to some different partners with business, with our community. Starting with 3 years ago, I now have over 30 people who have joined me in my efforts.
And the school had invited us as a part of the community. So guess what? We couldn't help but get on board.
So as you see, Jill knew that she needed help and she knew that others would be willing to help if she could just tell the right story and find ways for them to engage. I think that lots of partners want to be able to help you. They just don't know exactly how to do that in a way that works best for everyone. So now we'd like you to take some time and think about what you would tell people about your school. So imagine that you are, I don't know, in an elevator or in the line at the grocery store or at a party, and someone says, "Tell me about your school." What would you tell them if you had 3 minutes? Again, if you have these ideas in mind and you've already packaged this, then it comes off more effectively. So after you think about what you would tell them, jot down 3 ideas and begin to formulate the story. And then think about a longer version. If you had more than 3 minutes, you know, if you got invited to the local Rotary Club meeting, what would you tell them? And a shorter version. If you only had 1 minute, what would you tell them? And as the audience changes, how would your story change? Think about this in advance.
Yeah, Jennifer, I think that's such good advice, because for those of us who are really not very good extemporaneous speakers, like can't think really quickly on our feet, right? It's so important, I think, to have that planned out in advance. I'm one of them. Like, I have to know what I'm going to say in advance. When I don't, I feel very uncomfortable. So thanks for that. So yeah, pause the video for a minute, think about your story, write down some ideas. Okay, we're now on to the second part of our presentation. And, so Jennifer talked a lot about developing and fine-tuning your story. So now it's time to put your story to use. So hopefully you've got a good start to a story that you were able to create here in that last pause of the video. But one area where a really well-honed story becomes important is in the building and nurturing of partnerships. As a busy school administrator, I know that you're aware of the importance of all types of partners. There's just not enough staff or funding to accomplish everything that you need to accomplish all by yourself. So building partnerships that are aligned to your strategic goals, however, it can be difficult and time consuming. So in this section, Jennifer and I are going to offer you a few ideas for how to be successful in this arena. So this quote by Kevin Sturtz says that every contact we have with the customer influences whether or not they'll come back. We have to be great every time or we'll lose them. I mean, think about your own experiences as a customer, and I think you'll realize that this is really true, right? And today, more than ever, our customers, which I think include your students, your parents, potential future employees, and potential partners, have lots of options to choose from when it comes to schools. So you and your staff really have to be prepared to put your best foot forward. And I think that's why what Jennifer said at the end of that first section is really important, that everyone on your staff should be able to tell a version of the story about your school. So really spend time with them, helping them also to develop a positive story, a positive message that you want them to be sharing with community members as they work with them. So how do we build and nurture partnerships? In my opinion, there are 3 main areas for building partnerships that you should probably stop and think about today. That first area is to be intentional. That means you do not have to partner with every person who walks through your door. Instead, stop and think about partners who can enter into mutually beneficial relationships with you. How can you help them, and how can they help you? Once you've assessed the potential quality for the partnership, then be intentional about finding ways to engage with them. Maybe invite them to come and spend a day on your campus, or invite them to see something on your campus that relates to the work that they do. For example, like a retail agency in your neighborhood might love to come and talk with the students who run your school store. That could be really exciting for them. You can also go visit them. Take them some information about the school and just say hello. As you visit with them, whether it's on your campus or at their location, you can share the story that you've developed and allow them to get a glimpse into what's important for your campus, along with the exciting things that I know that you are all doing for kids. Second is to be attentive. In this second piece of advice, what you're doing is you're getting to know your customers. A little tip that I had to learn, because I'm really bad at remembering things, is after I interact with customers, I try to write down a few tidbits about them, because invariably when you're having a conversation, they share things with you. If you can write those things down, then when you see them again next, just review your notes really quickly. And I don't know, maybe they told you they had a really hard month the month before. You're meeting with the next month. Wouldn't it be cool and powerful to start off to say, you know, last time we were together, you shared that things had been really difficult. I hope things are better. How's it going? Really starts off a nice conversation. And what that does is it lets them know that you're really, really invested in them as a partner, helps to build a relationship, and relationships are the foundations of good partnerships. Finally, don't be afraid to get feedback from them. As you're meeting with them, ask them what they need that your school could help them with. If they spend a day at your school, ask them what they learned and if they have any thoughts about how they could partner with you. What's the saying? You have 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? So listen more than you talk. This is really true with potential and current partners. You need to listen actively to their needs and observations so that you can use that feedback to develop strategic and strong partnerships. So that's some ideas about how to build. Maybe you have some partnerships that you already have in existence. So the next thing to think about is nurturing those partnerships. It's super easy to kind of just get in the groove and moving along with everything that you're doing. And then the next thing you know, what happened to that partner? Well, you forgot to nurture the partner. So here's some ideas for how you can do that. First, make sure that the partnership continues to be viewed as a reciprocal relationship. In a reciprocal relationship, each partner has a clear understanding of the other's bottom line. For a school, obviously, it's academic achievement, right? We want our kids to do really well and we want them to thrive. For a business, honestly, the bottom is profit so that they can stay in business. A lot of what a school can offer to a business is free to the school. It's just visibility. It's allowing your other customers, your students, your parents, other people that interact with the school to know that this business is partnering with you, that they're supporting your school, and really making sure that they know that they're an active and valued partner. You can do little things. Just thank them in a newsletter for their partnership. Hang up their sign on the fence at the baseball arena. Distribute flyers if you have a mechanism for distributing flyers. All of these things are going to help to drive traffic to their business, and they're going to go, wow, this partnership is really beneficial to me, and I want to make sure that I continue it. So really remember that they need to get benefit just as much as you need to get benefit from the partnership, and that's how you're going to nurture and sustain it. The next piece of advice is just to be trustworthy and transparent. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If a partnership isn't working really well, be transparent with the partner and work with them to help to fix it. Or maybe it's time to decide that maybe this isn't a right partnership. It's okay to let partnerships go sometimes if that's what needs to happen, if it's not beneficial for them or not turning out to be beneficial for you. But do it in a way that's professional and maintains that relationship, because you don't know, things might change down the line and you may need them later. Finally, a related item, but definitely worth restating, is follow through and follow up. Send an email after visits. Check in occasionally with them just to say hello and see how they're doing and check in on the partnership. Send them a holiday card if you want, or definitely send handwritten thank you messages. Get the kids to write them. Business partners love getting messages from the students that says, we so appreciate how you supported us in the thing that they were trying to accomplish. So you don't have to write all the messages, although it's nice to get a handwritten message from the principal, certainly. Have the kids help you with that and have the teachers help you with that. But I can tell you that all of these little gestures build, and they make your partners feel really appreciated, and it makes them want to stick around and help. In that video earlier of Jill, that's one of the things she's masterful at. She has 30 partners who are active on her campus because she remembers all of these things. She remembers that there has to be a mutually beneficial relationship, that it's about trust and transparency, and that it's about follow up and follow through. So think for a minute about how you can maybe integrate some of these things into your existing partners.
So Carol, I was going to insert that, principals are experts at building relationships. They do it every day with their staff and their students. And other school leaders, on the campus are also really good at that. So those are skills they already have. And I can't emphasize enough this idea of building a win-win partnership.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do with our friends. That's what we do with our colleagues. We want to be mutually supportive. And sometimes it's as easy as asking the business partner, what is it you think we can do for you? And businesses and other partners will very much appreciate that. And partnerships aren't all just businesses. Sometimes it's a nonprofit organization. It might be a government entity, a faith community. It could be any number of different kinds of partnerships. But we know that schools have a lot to offer that doesn't cost anything. And so just ask them, how can we help you? In the same way that they're going to ask you, how can they help you?
Yeah, Jennifer, super good point. And I also would be remiss if I didn't say that that video that we played earlier was created for an organization called School Connect. And if you're in Arizona and Texas, right? Arizona and Texas is where we're really at right now with School Connect, right?
They're actually in 10 different cities across the country. They're in California and Oklahoma and Texas and all over.
Okay, so School Connect, Jennifer and I both sit on the board of School Connect. It's an amazing organization that can help you with all of this. So if you're feeling overwhelmed and you're like, okay, Carol, Jennifer, I'm listening to you, but this is just too much. If you need some help, go to School Connect's website. They are there to help you. And there's a million tools, resources, all sorts of things that can help you as you begin to build these partnerships. So I definitely didn't want to forget to mention that as well. So know that there are people out there who can help you with this if it feels really overwhelming to you. Okay, so what we'd like you to do right now is pause the video. On a piece of paper, you're going to make a T-chart. On the one side, you're going to label it existing relationships. On the other side, you're going to name it future partnerships. I want you to just list 3 or 4 existing partnerships, people that you're partnering with now. Just list them. You don't have to do anything with it right now. We're going to come back to it later. Then list maybe 3 or 4 or even just 1 or 2, however many you can think of, people that you would like to develop a partnership in the future. We're going to think about that when we come back after this next little section. So again, pause the video, take a few minutes to do that, then restart it when you're ready. So as you're thinking about partnerships, sometimes we just have things happen to partners, right? So we're going to have a few scenarios for you to think through. Stop the video after reading each scenario and think about what you would do. How might a really good story help you to address some of these situations? How might you have to adjust your story to meet the needs of this partner? There really are no right or wrong answers for these situations. I just believe, and I think Jennifer would agree, the more you practice this ahead of time, the better you will be at dealing with the situation in the moment. So these are actual scenarios and situations that have happened to both Jennifer and I. And so we thought we'd share them with you. So scenario number 1, what would you do? An existing partner has started ghosting you. They do not respond to emails or phone calls. You really need their partnership to continue. What do you do? Pause the video and think about it. Okay, welcome back. Scenario number 2. A potential partner reaches out to discuss an idea for a partnership. Their idea is not aligned to your strategic priorities and goals. How do you help them to understand your needs while still addressing their goals? Stop and think about that. Okay, and the final scenario, what would you do? A new business has moved into the area and you want to develop a partnership. How do you begin this process? Stop and think. All right, now that you've had some time to just think through a couple of scenarios, hopefully you have some good ideas. Reflect back on what we shared previously, because I think a lot of what we shared previously could help you to address all 3 of those situations that we presented to you. But at this point, I want you to go back to your T chart. And what you're going to do is you're going to put a star next to one of your existing partnerships that you want to nurture. And start thinking about how might you nurture that partnership. Maybe you're going to invite them to join you for coffee or send them a little note, or I don't know, whatever else you think might help to just keep that partnership going. Write down an action step, what you will do to nurture that partnership. Then on the right-hand side, I want you to circle one of your future partnerships that you want to focus on and start building, and decide on a few action steps. So on the back of that paper, begin writing down some action steps. What are you going to do? And I say, what are you going to do? And I'm using you sort of in the broader sense. You're not by yourself on a campus. Maybe what you can do is say to one of your assistant principals, or maybe one of your clerical staff has an in with this business, or maybe one of your teachers could reach out to this business or to this faith partner or to other organizations and start developing that relationship. So that's the other thing to think about within your action steps is who else? Who else can you get from your school? Oh, and don't forget the power of the kids. Oh, it's hard to say no to a kid when they show up on your doorstep. So you think about some action steps, pause the video for a few minutes, think about what you're going to do next as a result of what we have shared with you today in terms of building and nurturing partnerships.
So Carol, a treasure trove of future partnerships sits inside your parent community.
Yes.
Think about the employers,
Point.
think about parents who might own their own businesses, to tap into the ways they can help you identify new partners is immense.
Yeah, that's a super good point. And so, one of the things I did one year as a principal too, is I actually sent out a survey to my parents just to sort of ask them, what do you do for a living kind of thing? And you're right, Jennifer, thanks for that sort of jot of a reminder that sending out that survey, I got a treasure trove of information about what different parents do. Parents who didn't always just show up to things, right? Because they were working or they just didn't want to come to open house, those kinds of things. But they did answer the survey because it was real short and just easy for them to say, here's what I do. And I think, what do you do? Would you be willing to share your expertise with us on the campus? Do you mind if I contact you? It was kind of that kind of a thing. So yeah, really, really good advice there.
And it doesn't have to be a fancy neighborhood. It doesn't have to be a rich neighborhood. Parents have skills and they have connections and they have networks and they have groups that they are connected to, whether it's the influential neighborhood leader, the person that everybody in the neighborhood goes to for advice. Maybe it's a connection to a faith community that would step up to support your school. So never underestimate the power of how parents can help you if we ask them.
Absolutely. Great reminder. And I appreciate that. So I think we're on to the private reflection. Jennifer, do you want to give them their marching orders for this one? I know, Jennifer, you got a cough. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
No worries.
So we'd like, as we start to end this presentation, we'd like you to think about, how do you build these two pieces together? How do you refine your story? Think about all the different versions of the story that you want to have handy, and how do you build a story that will get you the kinds of resources and support that your students need and that your staff needs. So think about that, and then take the story and think about how you can use that to build these additional partnerships. Carol made an important point. We have to continue to nurture existing partnerships as well as expand the number of partnerships. And I can tell you from years of experience that there are lots of community members in every community, everywhere, who want to be supportive of the school, but they don't know how. They don't have kids in your school. They don't necessarily own a business, but maybe they do, and they want to be supportive, but they don't know how. And so it's up to you as a leader to build ambassadors across your staff so that all of you can build that welcoming environment, not only for your students, but for the partners that really do want to help you.
Yeah, super good point, Jennifer. And Jennifer used to be the superintendent, and I worked underneath of her as a principal. And one of the things she told all of us as principals is in your, I think it was your right hand desk drawer. I think it was always the right hand top desk drawer. As a principal, you should have a list ready to go of, if a partner walked through your door tomorrow and they asked, how can I help you? You should have a list of how ways they could help you ready to go. So maybe use this time for private reflection to develop that list if you don't have it. If you don't know exactly how partners can engage with you, make sure you've thought about that, because sometimes, Jennifer, you're right, they don't know how to help. They know they want to help, but they don't know how to help. And if you don't have very specific asks, it makes it difficult for them to know where they fit into the work of your school.
And I would also suggest that that list is a diverse list.
Yeah.
What can they do to help you that, you don't need 10,000 backpacks, but maybe you need some new books for your library or whatever. So sometimes it's about material things. Often it's about time. Could you use members of that business to come in and listen to kids read to them? Could they volunteer at your school carnival? Could they, so what are things that they could do that cost time? And then what are things they could do that might cost money? But it's always aligned to your strategic priorities. So give them lots of choices and lots of ways, what are the entry points into building a relationship with your staff?
Great advice. Thanks. So yeah, pause the video for a few minutes, jot down some ideas, and then when you're ready, come back to us. Once again, I just wanted to say thank you for joining Jennifer and I today. We hope that you learned a little bit about storytelling and why developing and practicing and pre-planning that story is so important, as well as the idea of equipping all of the people who work at the school or who engage with the school to also tell that story for you. And then we also hope that you learned a bit about how to build and nurture partnerships, remembering that you're not in it alone, that there's lots of people who can help you to build and nurture partnerships. And then once you have those partnerships going, there's lots that your partners can do to help you to impact your students in many, many positive ways. So we're really glad you joined us. As Canyon Professional Development, our why is always to empower, educate, and inspire our community so that they take action to fulfill their purpose and serve others. So we hope that today you got some actionable ideas that you can take back to your school and get started on them right away. We would love to have some feedback on this presentation. If you just click your camera on that QR code, you'll be able to go ahead and select me as the presenter in the dropdown, Carol Lippert, and tell us what you thought about it. We're always looking to improve and get better, and we'd be happy to take your feedback. Here's some references. And then finally, don't forget that we have lots of free resources through Canyon Professional Development. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you're going to get those notifications. So please remember to sign up to our YouTube. We put out new full-length webinars every single month that you can use with your teachers as professional learning. And again, 100% free to you, my favorite four-letter word, free. And then finally, we are on basically all the social media platforms. So if you would like to connect with us on social media, you can access all of our free resources, interact with our team, and find out about upcoming events. So once again, thank you so very much for joining us today. We appreciate your attention, and we wish you all the best as you begin telling your story and finding all those amazing partners who can work with you.